light. The result papers over the cracks, I fear. But then again, at this time of year, you just need to get the win and get up and running. We looked a long way off Saints and Wigan right now, though. And at MyDod22 said, very much a Jekyll and Hyde performance from Wire, but nice to get 2 points regardless. Nice to see the youngsters in Wrench and Ashton linking up well, in brackets sometimes. Yeah, they missed a couple of chances, but they did set up a good try, didn't they? He said, are they ever going to build a roof on that away end? We got absolutely drenched. Watched the Channel 4 coverage back the next day and think they did a cracking job. Where do we start, Sarah?
We could start with the fact that Bentley's appeal's been unsuccessful and he's got another game added to his suspension.
Oh, has he?
Yeah.
Oh, poor lad. Fucking
yes,
idiot.
that's 4 games he's going to miss.
So we start with James Bentley then, don't we? Okay.
Due to a frivolous challenge.
Yeah, because for as long as I've been doing this show, which this is now in its 9th year, and for longer than that, direct swinging arm to the head has been a red card.
Yeah.
And that's what this was. And Chris Kendall explained it really well, I thought. I don't know if you agree, but when
I thought he explained it really well.
He said clenched fist, swinging arm, direct contact. If you're a Leeds fan, you can do any multitude of freeze frames you want where it looks like it hits an arm first or something, but actually, he hit him in the head. And to be honest as well, people are talking about was Widdop ducking or low down or whatever. Bentley was coming from fucking behind him. The head was the furthest part away from where Bentley was. So he did well to reach the head, didn't he?
Yeah.
He could have tackled all of Widdop before getting anywhere near the head.
Yeah, it was just James Bentley. There are many other ways you could describe it, but it was James Bentley being James Bentley.
Yeah, I don't... If Leeds fans feel aggrieved about other stuff in the game, and we'll talk about all the other stuff, I'm sure, well, some of it's been mentioned. There was the hand in touch. There was a knock-on that I wasn't sure about whether he was facing his own line anyway, but did it go into a Leeds player? It could have been given. They're not always given. The hand in touch was a mistake, and I think that's a line mistake. It's one they shouldn't get wrong.
Yeah.
But this decision that this was a red card, no matter how much you want to compare it to other cards or other decisions, that's futile. This was a red card.
Yeah.
Every day of the week, this was a red card. And it turns out twice on Tuesdays.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And I was shocked when I saw that they were appealing it.
Yeah. The Dwyer one. The Dwyer sin binning. That's been backed up by the match review panel because they, have charged it. I don't know, did Leeds appeal that one as well?
I'm not sure whether they were appealing that one or not. Warrington were appealing something. Was that Holmes's?
Yeah, we'll that one hasn't. There's nothing's come out on that one yet, so maybe they're still working through them. Announcing them as they go. I thought again, people keep talking about new interpretations. Direct swinging arm to the head, not a new interpretation. Been a red for as long as I can remember. These kind of tackles have been a point of emphasis for a few years now, so it's not a new interpretation either. I remember we had a conversation about this, and the RFL did a video about it after the first round back in 2020. John Wilkin was suspended. I think he got a 2-game ban for a tackle on... It was against Cass, but it was at Leeds, so all them South Standers would have seen it. And that was a very similar sort of incident. So it's not a new point of emphasis, this late tackles that cause flexion in the neck gonna get penalised. So I don't know where the kind of outcry was on that. It didn't look that hard a hit, I've got to say, but it had all the hallmarks of these late hits that get banned.
Yeah, I just think get over yourselves.
What about the Ollie Holmes one? Because he got a yellow card for Warrington. One of the Leeds fans, I think it was Leighton mentioned, why wasn't that a red too? I thought Kendall explained this brilliantly during the game as well, but I don't know what you thought.
I thought it was really... I was really impressed with the way the whole thing was dealt with. Leeming, as the captain, went and spoke to Kendall. Kendall responded very well, explained it well. There was none of this, I'm the referee, I can do what I like. It was, there were differences, these are the differences, this is a red card, that's a yellow card. And I was very impressed with that interaction between the player and the referee.
I didn't think this one was that. I thought he only clipped the chin as a bit of a glancing contact, but the match review panel thought it was worth a ban. We'll see what the appeal says. It was a high shot, and in the heat of that moment, as it were, I think a yellow card was inevitable, and I'm not criticising it. One other hit to talk about, I suppose, because so. Holmes got grade B high tackle, 1 match penalty notice. That Dwyer appealing. I don't know if we'll get the outcome of that appeal whilst we're recording. Brad Dwyer got his 1 match penalty notice for a grade A dangerous contact. That means Brad Dwyer's had a grade A dangerous had a dangerous contact ban within the last 12 months as well. The fact that he got the full ban. So prior, Ben Curry got a grade A high tackle, no match penalty notice for what was sort of described as careless incidental secondary head contact in a collision. This is maybe more controversial, this tackle. It was the one that was on Fuzzer Tour that eventually, after Leeds medical staff managed to actually have a conversation with Fuzzer Tour, two knock-ons and a half-time interval later, led to his withdrawal from the side and didn't get back on for the failing a concussion test. What did you think of this one?
I thought he actually made contact with the ball first and bounced up. I didn't think it was too bad, but I've not got a lot of sympathy for Fuzzer Tour after knocking out Davy Litton in a very similar way.
Yeah, that one wasn't a high tackle either, was it? In the end, they ruled. No one saw anything unfit, but it did cause a big delay in that match.
The match was stopped for 10-12 minutes. It was quite worrying. I
thought it was a great hit. Live, in full speed live, I thought it was a great hit. When they slowed it down and showed all the angles, there were a couple of angles where you could see there was sort of upper arm on head, but I thought that was almost a result of the tackle rather than...
Yeah, I thought it was more a bounce-up one.
I certainly think there wasn't anything wrong with his technique or form going into that tackle, but sometimes head collision eventuates down the way, and it was almost like the tackle was made. The head came back because the tackle was so good. Then the head came forward again as he was dropping. It kind of caught the shoulder or upper arm area. I don't think they could have given that as a card live, because it would have needed so much scrutiny to determine, especially because the technique looked right and the timing was perfect.
Yeah, I really didn't think that there was anything wrong with that.
Other than not tackling, I'm not sure how anything could have been avoided about that impact, because I don't think it was a high tackle. I think there was a secondary impact with the head after a perfect tackle, which, again, we have to decide what we're going to do with those things, because clearly it's caused an injury and that's serious. But as things stand at the moment, I can't see that being a card, personally.
No, I really wasn't that in. Yeah. I think... I think it was fine.
We'll see how those things adapt, because we are moving towards any sort of contact with the head, but we'll see. Shall we talk about the actual rugby?
Yeah.
What did you make of the actual rugby? Anything stood out for you?
I was surprised at how little
Are you rustling the paper?
No, I'm not actually. Sorry, I was just stretching my leg and thinking at the same time. I was surprised at how poor Warrington were when they had a 2-man advantage. it was Leeds that seemed to be able to create an overlap, which seemed a little bit strange.
When Bentley first went off, Warrington had an attack where George Williams did a little dance, then ran inside, then threw a stupid forward pass to the first man when he had players lined up outside that surely would have been able to find space. And from that point on, it took Wire 20 minutes to figure out how to play against a team with men down. And at that point, they had 2 men down when they finally figured it out and managed to make a break and then get the try for Charlie just before half time. But Leeds was so much better outside of that. Apart from the great first try that they scored against the runner play as well, Wire. I thought that was good. Real confidence, skill, pace from that young left edge. But between those 2 moments, and even before that first try, Leeds was so much the better team in the first half, weren't they?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it was a great game, wasn't it? I mean, if you could have picked a game to televise and shown terrestrial TV, you know, that's the sort of game you want to show, isn't it, really? That goes right down to the dying seconds and everything else.
Well, and even when you sort of, everyone was talking about, right, at half-time, Wire had just scored, they were probably going to, that was great for them because it was harsh on Leeds, but probably now, I think Tompkins said it, and his analysis was generally very good, but this was something he didn't quite get right. He sort of said, well, Warrington should now pull away.
Yeah.
Because they've figured it out finally. They should now pull away. But actually what we saw was Leeds scored the first try of the second half. Great play by Cruz Leeming to set up that with that kick, and Ash Hanley's effort to get there ahead of Charlie was fantastic. And so that gave us the second half start we wanted as well, didn't it, in terms of the neutrals?
Yeah, I thought Cruz Leeming had a very good game.
Until that kick out on the full.
Well, yeah. And for Warrington, Matty Ashton, who, as you know, I'm not a massive fan of, I thought he had a very good game.
Yeah, there was a couple of times where he wasn't found by the men inside him. I thought Conor Wrench was pretty decent. He ended up scoring the winning try, didn't he, as well? But there was a bit of a disconnect at times that they'll need to work on. But you're right. Yes. You're right with that. I agree. But there did seem to be a creeping feeling. Warrington did start to at least get field position as the second half went on. They weren't necessarily threatening, but they got field position. They managed to score the try through Charnley, and then what would the game been without one last moment of controversy? That Rashford pass.
Yeah.
It felt forward, didn't it? But there's no angle that conclusively shows it was forward.
Yeah, no, it definitely did look forward. But maybe the referees just get fed up of hearing the South Stand shouting everything's forward. And, you know, give up listening to it.
Well, you know, if you want to be a conspiracy theorist, then Peter Smith was your man for Leeds fans, wasn't he?
Goodness, yeah.
Maybe we'll give a brief mention to that, because he did an article which he says was about who's refereed Leeds the most and why it's strange that some referees seem to be getting a lot more games than others. And he will defend himself by pointing out he talked about Liam Moore getting a lot of games and Leeds having a good record when Liam Moore is the referee. But really, this article was published after Chris Kendall had just been the centre of all the Leeds fans' hatred for a game that Leeds lost, and it says that they only win less than 20% of the games in the last 2 years that Chris Kendall refereed. What it doesn't say is that most of those games were against St Helens, Warrington, Catalans or Wigan, who have in the last 2 years finished above Leeds in the table. Therefore, you could determine are better teams than Leeds.
Yeah.
So my conclusion when I looked into it, and you can see there's a Twitter thread on the SLP Twitter feed, was that Leeds beat teams that are worse than them. Generally, they lose to those teams. They beat those teams by 10-point margins, and they have a similar-ish kind of record under Liam Moore in general, because he tends to ref games where they're against teams that are lower than them in the table, strangely. And when Chris Kendall referees games, it's just the same outcome as when Leeds play teams that are better than them generally. They win very few of those games, and they lose on average by 12 points in those games. So there you go. Nothing to see here about the referee. It's all about Leeds. Anything else on the game, Sarah?
No, I don't think so.
Shall we touch